So I'm reminded that best friends is quite often the divine spirit within each one of us. We forget our connection is absolutely our best friend that stands beside us, always with us, always within. And hang on, look at it. I got intercepted. I was going to help Brian go to the youth, but Curtis took care of it. Thank you. So today, it's about rubbing elbows with success. Because sometimes what keeps us from success, however we define that, is really ourselves and what's that about. So today, I want to invite you to examine what those beliefs are. What's going on with you that keeps you from having whatever vision of success that you really, really want. And so somebody said that maturity means emotionally and mentally healthy. It is that time when you know when to say yes, when to say no, and when to say whoopee. So it's really, really important because some of us go through life trying to be people pleasers. And we say yes to things that we really don't want to say yes to. No is an acceptable yes. Because your saying no allows somebody else to say yes. It's really that, whatever that event or activity was specially created for them. So by you saying no is a gift to them. It opens up that doorway. And of course, there's nothing wrong with cooking. And whatever that means to you, I celebrate you. But spiritual maturity is about living in a balance of life. And so what I want to remind us of is that we don't want to just become so consumed with some idea of what success means, whether that's to chase money or chase a job or chase a relationship, chase even health. Some people end up going to even the gym. They end up being what we call a gym rat. To the fact that they spend so much time at the gym, the rest of their relationships suffer. Sometimes that shows up in our addictive personalities of some of us who have those. We tend to do something that from 100%, I tend to do that. It's really hard for me to run in a moderate screen. I run either 0 or I run at 100. But you don't find me often coasting along. I don't drive in the right-hand lane very often. I tend to be in the middle lane or in the other, which reminds me that I was stuck in traffic a few days ago, and I was thinking about this talk, and I was thinking about all the various things about what it really means to be successful, because as I go through my life, my idea of what success means keeps changing. It's like the spiritual maturity. What's important to me that may not be important to somebody when you're 20, when you're 25 or 40. But now, whatever it means to you is important to you, and you should honor that and respect it. So anyway, I love how God shows up. God is always showing up in my life in these unique ways, and quite often in traffic. Maybe because I drive a lot, I don't know. But I'm deciding my lane's not going fast enough, of course. And so I moved to the next lane, and as soon as I did, that lane stopped. But because the lane stopped, it gave me a chance to look at the rear window of this car, and it was quoting Romans 1:18. It said, "Not of this world." And what I realized is that's what happens, right? What I am seeking for success is not of this world. And so what it comes up to is it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, what is it we really value? What is it that's really calling us forth? Because each one of us are these unique beings. We're the only expression of the divine unique to us. So we're here for a purpose, whatever that is. And so to listen to that inner calling, and that's what the radical responsibility means to me. It's that spiritual maturity to know that we do not have to be crowd followers. And so there's this saying in the book, The Joyous Living Journal, where they said, if you want to succeed, rub elbows with successful people. And for those of us in science of mind, we always tend to think we create our own world and we make it our way. You know, Frank Sinatra said, "I'll do it my way." But what's important to understand is we can look and see somebody else doing what we want to emulate, whether that's success in business, whether that's success in relationships, whether that's success in spiritual practice. Maybe we think somebody's higher consciousness. What that does for us, it gives us a chance to say, that is a picture of what I want. It doesn't mean that you want what they have exactly. You want it for yourself. You want it to be yours. But you see something so you can absolutely say, okay, those are the qualities. And so we do it without a comparison, because comparisons really don't do anything. Comparisons mean that you feel that you're in a condition of lack. And you're never in a condition of lack. A lack is only an idea that your ego is playing with. That your ego is trying to get you to do something that is not of your true spiritual nature. And again, there's nothing wrong with the ego. The ego has gotten you to where it is. It's the ego that keeps you showing up at times in the right places at the right times. So, but you have to ask yourself, where am I rubbing elbows with successful people? Where am I hanging out with those people that really are successful? They're really emulating what I want. That's what I hope we're doing with this community that we're building here. We're creating an idea that we are like-minded people. We're not all identical. Matter of fact, we're all different. If you look from up here, you are different. Y'all are different. And viva la difference, right? So you're all different because we're all unique, but we come together, and that's why this time, I hate to put an end to it after the opening song when they say go greet somebody, because you're all having so much fun greeting each other, because you truly are doing the namaste experience. You're really seeing the divine. You're really seeing the reflection of yourself. You're really seeing success in spiritual practice. To me, spiritual practice is a way of living. It's not something that you get out of a book. It's something you experience. It's something you feel. It's something you know. It almost like comes in at a gut feeling or a heart level. You know it when you see it. You know it when you feel it. And sometimes what we have to do is ask in those moments when we're looking at what we don't have that we really want more of in our life, and we want to say, who am I? Who am I really? And as that person I believe I am, is that really what I want? Does that really embody what I want as success? Is that how I'm measuring it? Because the comparison world doesn't do you any good. The comparison is really going to fall on the ground when your time is up, when you move on. Comparisons don't do anything. Comparisons are trying to live somebody else's life rather than living your own. So what you want to do is take that moment to really rub elbows with success. Really means that you get a chance to experience and up-level yourself into that next plane of existence that you really want. But you do it on your terms. You make it uniquely you. Who you are really matters. Sam Cummings said, the higher you climb the mountain, the harder the wind blows. I picked that particular saying because I liked it and the article that went with it, because what happens is that the higher you go, so really tall trees have much more wind because they stand up above the rest of the trees, right? They stand up above the forest and the wind. But how do they get strong like that? They get strong because they've weathered other winds. As the winds blow against them, they learn to bend and become flexible, because if you're not flexible and the wind's blowing, you're going down. And you probably may, if you're not around, you won't hear the sound, but there was one made and they went down. But the wind strengthens, and so it's the winds of life. Your life the things that you see as challenges, those are the winds that are blowing you. And so it's really how you react to life, which is really your spiritual practice. It's how you react to the things that happen to you. You can bend and be flexible and know that you will strengthen, because as we know about the winds eventually die down. Your challenges in life eventually die down. They do not stay up at the same intensity unless you keep feeding them. And some of us are experts at feeding them. But they will strengthen us. So it's about how we change it. Just a little thing, a further advertisement on this bracelet. I'm so excited. This is day 28. I didn't think I could make day 21. For those of you who don't know, I made it to 14 twice and went back to 1. But what I shared last week, and I'll share again this week, what happens with this simple little purple bracelet is a shift in my consciousness. Now, I've been walking a spiritual path for almost 30 years, and I've been walking spiritual religious science for 15 of those 30. And this little simple act has changed so much. What it changed in me, though, is how I react to the events. That's what I'm trying to say about the spiritual rubbing your elbows with success. And that's what I'm talking about, is how you react to life circumstances. That's what I'm talking about, the winds of change, the winds that blow against you, how flexible you are. Because events will happen, trust me. Unless you go and board yourself up as a monk somewhere, and even then events happen, because you still got to go to the bathroom, you still got to eat, and one leads to the other. So it's not the events that happens in your life. It's what you do with events, how you react to the events. And if you know that your best friend is the divine, the spirit within you, that always has your back, that always is walking with you, then you know that that's just a wind that's building your strength. And that you can be flexible and you can bend with it. You can sway. And you go, and you continue to grow in higher consciousness. And the higher consciousness you get, I really believe, sometimes the winds blow harder. And that's okay. Because if you truly believe from whence you came, then you're up to it. You are up to being flexible. You are up. This is just one more adventure in life. How boring life would be if nothing ever happened to you. You'd look like one of those heart monitors in a hospital. They'd be flatlining. And you're not. Now, some of us get more excitement in our life than we want. But sometimes that's our own choosing, sometimes our own thoughts, and that's all up to us, and it's up to you and really what you really want to do. But remember about that as we grow in that consciousness. And there's another article in there that really ties in with all of this that I really want to share. Because you know this is the season of fall, right? So if you're in a different climate than California, you actually get colorful leaves. And you see leaves turn bright reds and orange and yellows. And then what happens to them? They fall. And when they fall, they reveal the skeleton of the tree, which is really beautiful in itself. I have some Zen cards at home that have some beautiful, beautiful bare trees that just evoke such serenity and peace in me. And there is something beautiful about that tree. But the interesting thing about that, what happened, those leaves fell, they ripened, and it was part of the cycle of creativity, and they fell. But what happens when you look at a tree that the leaves are all brown and they're still attached? The tree is dead. That tree is dead. It's not giving life cycle. So what that says is those leaves that are hanging on the dead tree, they're brown, they're stuck to it. They're hanging on. And that's what happens to us in life. Sometimes we want to hang on to where we are rather than be the creative process. We don't want our leaves to to ripen and fall. We don't want to let go of that stuff. And quite often it's material stuff, but some of the stuff is forgiveness. I'm big in the forgiveness stuff, letting go of that. So when we can learn to let go, what it is that's part of our creative cycle. That's part of what keeps us growing. That helps improve our consciousness, helps lift us up. Because when we're dead, like a dead tree, we hang on to things that weigh us down. You know, as we end up near the end of the year, I'm doing this again for myself, so I encourage all of you, look at what you've got around you. You can get a tax deduction if you get rid of that stuff. Donate it. Get rid of it. It's extra stuff. It's the brown leaves of your life. If you haven't used it in a couple of years, you're probably not going to use it. The same thing about your beliefs and your ideas. If you're hauling around an old hurt from a relationship that ended 20 years ago, but when you think of that person, you think of the hurt first, get rid of it. It's a dead leaf. It's keeping you from growing in that aspect of your life. And when you get rid of that leaf and you get rid of that feeling, it opens up and you will have new buds of experience, new buds of awareness. You have a chance to flower again and have new growth. And you notice how the trees, they all start to grow in the springtime. They start to have these little green shoots, and you can see them when they come out. The new growth comes out of the older limbs. And that's us. We're always having new growth. And what happens is after a while, that new green shoot turns brown with age and it weathers. That happens to us too. But it's growing higher, and it's growing more into the higher consciousness. So you have that opportunity. All of us really do. So you have to ask yourself the question. I'm going to invite you to do this. What are you ready to let go of? What is no longer serving you? And I'm not talking about material things now. I'm talking about what kind of beliefs are you ready to let go of that no longer serve you. We're getting ready to move into the Thanksgiving holiday, so we're getting ready to really be in gratitude, right? So be grateful for our life, and be grateful for our changes that we're going through and what's happening. And it's a chance to release and let go. Let this old beliefs that no longer serve you, let them go. You're just stagnating you. And they serve no more purpose. And it has a chance for new growth, new ideas to come forth. So I did want to share one thing in here, and I think it's interesting that I wanted to read it for today, and the Signs of Mind guide. And I like that Reverend Les is here because his email address is Less is More, and that's the title of the book, Less is More. I think it's Les Z More. So, Signs of Mind quote is, if we are to have an act of faith, the faith of God, instead of merely a faith in God, our thought must be centered in universal mind. Did you get that? I read it kind of fast. Let me slow it down. If we are to have faith, have an act of faith, the faith of God, instead of merely a faith in God. It's of God, because we are of God. When we talk about just having a faith in God, it quite often refers to a power outside of ourselves. But the power is within you. You have the God power. You merely have to call it forth and exercise it. And it is your best friend. Thank you.